welcome to Smashterpieces, a casual walk through the history of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate roster. My name is Joe.
And my name is Matt.
And if you're new here, what we are doing on this show is we are playing one game for every character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, from 1984's Duck Hunt to 2017's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And before we get into our game, Matt, I have a question for you.
Oh.
What is a podcast?
Look, you gotta finish that line.
A miserable file of audio. But enough talk. Have at you. Actually, more talk, because we need that to be in a podcast. But unfortunately, that's from a different game.
Yeah, that is not the game that we played.
But canonically, it does happen during these games. Also, my mic peaked the fuck out when I did that, so sorry.
I don't think you're sorry. I think you're quite happy with what you've done.
You don't understand. I have been playing that intro in my head over and over again for weeks.
And you didn't even follow through. You did half the line and just stopped.
I expected more of a reaction. We're here to talk about Castlevania Rondo of Blood, released for the PC Engine in 1993, representing 66 Epsilon Richter.
So how about we talk a little bit about what exactly the PC Engine is, or specifically how neither of us knows the answer to that question.
It's the TurboGrafx 16, and that ends my the amount of information I know about the PC Engine.
Yeah, so there is an Easter egg if you put in Rondo of Blood with the wrong system disc. Which, what does that even mean?
And there are 3 of them, apparently. And if you don't use the right one, it just loads this weird Easter egg level. I don't understand. It was a disc-based system, not unlike the Sega CD. That's about all I know. It was successful in Japan and literally nowhere else. Maybe in Europe, too.
And Rondo of Blood is going to be our only visit to the PC Engine, to the TurboGrafx, the whatever the hell it is.
For now, we don't know that for sure.
I cannot imagine another TurboGrafx 16 character being announced.
I don't even know what a TurboGrafx 16 character would entail outside of Richter. So, yeah, the PC Engine is... I don't know. I have no idea. It's a disc-based system. It's our first disc-based system.
Which allows for full voice-acted cutscenes.
Which means this is what a game to be our first fully voice-acted game.
And the only reason we have it voice-acted in English at all is because of a weird port that came out years later.
Like a 2.5D port, and then... Obviously, the game did recently come out on PS4 alongside Symphony of the Night in a bundle, and that is how we both played it. Or at least I started playing it that way, and then moved to a different method. But you played it all the way through on the PS4. I played the first couple levels on the Requiem collection.
Bring it to Switch, cowards.
I am so surprised this did not come to Switch.
It's probably because of Symphony.
Maybe there might be something, like Sony might have a contract or something that says Symphony has to be on their stuff. It's possible, I suppose. But, I mean, still, Alucard and Richter are both in Smash in some capacity. And I'm really surprised this didn't come out on Switch at all. It's weird.
Alucard in Smash, all of his animations are straight out of Symphony.
Yeah. So, when they announced Richter as an Echo, they specifically brought up that they brought in Richter so that they could give Simon some stuff that came after Simon's games. But is it just me, or does Richter not do a lot that's super different from Simon outside of, the backflip?
So the biggest thing that they brought from Richter is his slide that they use as his down tilt, which is not in Rondo of Blood. It's in the prologue to Symphony of the Night.
That would make sense. Yes, that does make sense now that I think about it. Because you played a little bit of Symphony of the Night right after playing Rondo.
I did.
Which included playing, quote-unquote, the final level of Rondo of Blood again.
Which is, by the way, the coolest way to open up a sequel.
That is really cool. I can't think of a lot of other games that have done that. Some have. I know there are other examples, and it's always really, interesting when they do that. And that was the first example I knew of a game that did that.
Yeah, it was so cool, especially since I just come off of playing that in Rondo, and it immediately set the stage for me being disappointed in Symphony of the Night in a weird way, because I ended up really loving Rondo of Blood, and I don't mean to say that Symphony of the Night is a bad game, because it's actually an incredible game, but it's a very different game from Rondo of Blood, and then they never made a game like Rondo of Blood again, because Symphony of the Night was so successful.
Yeah, and not only that, but when they did make a game that was more level-based than stuff like Symphony, it would be 3D stuff like Castlevania 64, which was famously awful. Castlevania is one of those series that really tried hard to make the jump to 3D and failed miserably.
I forgot that Castlevania 64 existed for a little while.
There are 2 Castlevania 64 games.
I forgot about that too.
The second one is apparently even worse, so that's cool. Castlevania 64 was actually my first experience with the Castlevania franchise in general.
That's unfortunate.
It sure is. Hey, I was young, I didn't understand. And I never beat that game either. I think I got to a giant skeleton boss and couldn't beat it.
Isn't that the first level?
Yeah. I was a stupid idiot kid, and I was somehow, if you'll believe it, worse at video games then than I am now. I know, it's hard to believe.
It is. I was about to say. I don't know if that's possible.
So Rondo is really cool. This is a really cool game. I made that tweet around the time when I started it that was saying, I hope nobody's expecting me to have a good take on Rondo of Blood, because so far it's not looking great. Because when I started Rondo, it was just Castlevania again. And I've made my feelings clear on Castlevania. I do agree that it is a classic, but I also don't think a lot of its design aged too terribly well, and I just didn't really have fun with my time in the game. Meanwhile, as I kept playing, and then after I finished playing and let it sort of settle in my brain a little bit, I like Rondo of Blood. I think I like this game a lot.
You also I think you watching me play it also helped.
I think so too, because I got to experience the best part of Rondo of Blood, which is it has a second playable character outside of Richter. So Richter just plays like Simon, basically, in this game. You
could say that he's Simon's Echo Fighter.
Pretty much. He's got his backflip, and he can walk backwards, which I never really saw a real use for, personally. But he can do it. Did you know he could do that?
No,
If you hold the attack button and then walk, he won't turn around.
But why?
I don't know what use you could ever have for that, but he can do it.
Okay.
But there's a second playable character, and that character is Maria, and she's your new god. How have I never heard of Maria before?
Probably because most people in the West know her better from her appearance in Symphony of the Night. In that game, she appears as an adult, and it's the only game that she has ever appeared in as an adult in. But that's how most Western Castlevania fans met her, because Rondo of Blood originally didn't come to America. And child Maria just doesn't have a ton of pop culture relevance.
So she's a 12-year-old girl with the ability to control animals?
No, she just has animal friends.
She has animal friends. They're the 4 celestial beasts of Chinese mythology. Fun fact.
The cat, dragon, turtle, and bird.
I think you mean Genbu, Suzaku, Seiryu, and Byako.
I sure don't.
Specifically. That's specifically what they're supposed to be.
Which
is really funny. Even the walkthrough that I learned that information from says, Why the guardians of a small Franco-Prussian girl are the Chinese celestial beasts is beyond my comprehension. But that's what they're supposed to be. She's also got an egg and a music book. The music book seemed kind of useless when you used it.
Yeah, I was...
You used it exactly one time, and it just, like, bounced off the enemy and did nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't see it at all until the stage, I think it was stage 8. I didn't see it at all until then. And it sure wasn't helpful.
I think you were stage 7. Stage 8 is Dracula.
Okay.
Stage 7 would have been the last level, yeah. And, it sure wasn't. You saw the egg exactly once, and it seemed pretty powerful, but I don't know. You never went and grabbed it again, I don't think.
It was basically like the axe.
It was the axe, but also dropping like a grenade.
Yeah, it's good. It's just her animal companions are generally better.
Yeah. So she is like the power. You described her as a power fantasy when playing as her, to the point where I need to tell this story because this is my favorite part from your entire stream. It's so fucking good. It took you, 45 minutes to beat Dracula's, Richter?
Yeah.
Like, a long while. It was, you were not having fun with that boss fight. And then I was like, you should try fighting as Maria, because everything I had read had said that Maria breaks that fight.
I mean, I was going to do that either way, because there's a trophy for it.
And she does break that fight.
Because she can jump over his fireball attack and duck under it.
And, like, you took one hit in the entire fight.
Yeah, it was something.
First try, one hit taken. After 45 minutes with Richter, turns out this 12-year-old girl is the most powerful character in Castlevania. It changed my mind.
Oh, I mean, if in the prologue to Symphony you lose your health, she's the one that comes in, saves you, and makes you invincible.
Yep, she sure does. Which was also a thing I didn't know until you encountered it.
I really didn't know much about Symphony at all. I've never really seen anything about Symphony. So I also didn't really know anything about Maria. I didn't really know anything about Richter, to be honest. Just besides the fact that he's basically Joseph Joestar.
Kind of, yeah. So, we mentioned earlier that this entire game has fully voiced cutscenes. It's our first game with fully voiced cutscenes, of which we are not going to get another one for a while. Star Fox 64 is going to be our next game with voice acting in it.
Hey, Mario 64 has voice acting.
That's not what I mean, though. Dialogue.
It does.
And if you're specifically
Mario 64 has fully voiced dialogue.
Shit, you're right. Oh no, I forgot. The entire opening monologue is voiced. So yeah, then Mario 64. But if we're talking like, originally I wanted to say Metal Gear is our next encounter with like a bunch of voiced cutscenes. I say a bunch of voiced cutscenes. This game has like 6 in general.
I mean, that's still a lot more than
it's more than any of the others we've played so far.
Yeah.
But like, let's see, it's got Saving Maria is a voiced cutscene, and then
Saving Annette.
For the other 3, all 3 of the damsels, including Annette, have cutscenes, specific ones for if Maria saves them or if Richter saves them. There's a different cutscene for both scenarios, so that's 6 more. And then there's Dracula talking to Annette, and then the endings. So that's less than 10, but it's still like 9 or so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power of a disc system.
You know what else is the power of a disc system?
What's that?
Enemies don't respawn when you leave the screen. Or
yeah.
Like when you like kill something and then move 2 pixels to the left and then go back, the enemy's not there anymore.
The impressive power of having RAM.
Which was one of my least favorite parts about any of the NES games, because a lack of RAM means that it knows that the enemy's supposed to be there, but it doesn't understand, like, if you leave that area, and then you come back, it knows enemy's supposed to be there.
Yep. It doesn't know when the enemy's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, pretty much. So we had a friend sort of play a little bit of it and then watch a long play because they'd already played it before. And they brought up that they felt that the enemy placement in Rondo was a lot less calculated and like careful than Castlevania 1. And I think I disagree with that.
Yeah, I wasn't really feeling that. I was feeling that it was pretty good. Overall, I feel like Rondo was more fair than the original Castlevania was.
I agree with that. See, because like in my mind, Rondo's enemy placement is meant to be an actual challenge it's a challenge, but it's not like you have to run your ass into this challenge 40 times before you've figured it out. And you have to get it perfect. If you mess up once, you're dead. Meanwhile, like, let me put it this way. Rondo's enemy placement is made to be fun. Castlevania's enemy placement is made to make a 3-hour game into a 6-hour game.
Yeah, people were warning us that Rondo was going to be, like, super hard and was going to be way more difficult than the original Castlevania.
Well, there are hard parts to it's not as hard as the original Castlevania, for sure.
There are hard parts to it, but overall, I would say it was an easier game than Castlevania 1.
And I don't think it was so much like... I think it just came down to the enemy placement. I think the enemy placement's a lot more fair. It's a lot more fun. It's less focused on making sure that you have to just keep slamming your ass into it over and over and over and over again.
It's easier to react to stuff as it's happening.
It's a video game and not an obstacle course.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way to put it. I felt more like in Rondo, I didn't need to already know the stage before going in.
Yeah, same.
I felt like it was a test of my skills at the game more predominantly than it was a test of my foreknowledge of the map. Now,
granted, some of it is also, I feel like personally, and I have no source for this. Part of me wonders when Maria was implemented, because the levels definitely, for the most part, feel like they were balanced for Richter.
Well, yes, that's part of why I liked playing as Richter a bit more, because there was just more of a cohesive game to playing as Richter.
Because like these levels were not built for a character that can double jump and slide and has a ranged attack and all that. They were built for a guy that walks relatively slowly, has a whip, has a weird jump arc.
Yeah, Maria breaks the game way open.
And like that's fun. You described Maria as playing like an entirely different game, and that's fun, but like yeah, the levels were built for Richter. They were built as Castlevania levels.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting. That makes me think that maybe Maria was a later game, a later development edition.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe she was just like purposefully, expressly supposed to be an easy mode kind of thing.
That also might have been a thing, because she has gotten in the second stage, which is the first stage that things get kind of hard, but like not really. The second stage has one kind of hard part, I think, and that's with the mer people, and that's about it. Other than that, I was gonna say it's very analogous to the first level of Castlevania, but what am I talking about? It is the first level of Castlevania. Stage 2 is the entrance into the castle. It even has the same enemies and the same layout at first.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very much a throwback to...
Like, Vampire Killer is even playing in that level.
Yeah.
Like, come on!
Yeah, I did like how I didn't end up playing the alternate path, but I liked that in the alternate path, 2 levels, it was remixed stuff from earlier in the series. I don't think it was all Castlevania 1. I think a little bit of it was Simon's Quest and Super Castlevania, but I thought it was really cool.
I know for sure I guess we should explain this first real quick. There are alternate levels in this game, alternate paths and alternate levels and alternate bosses, and that's another reason why I think the enemy placement is so much more fair, because, like I said before, Castlevania, the original Castlevania's enemy placement was meant to make sure that you kept playing the game for longer than the game actually had content to provide.
To my understanding, there is one alternate path with entirely different levels for about half of the game.
Yes, I believe so.
And it has different levels, different bosses, and unfortunately neither of us played that path, so we can't comment on it at all in specifics.
You did play a boss I did not fight. I did not fight Carmilla, you did.
Interesting, because that's not the alternate path.
Interesting.
Like actually, if you go to the stage select without having unlocked the alternate path, if you hover over stage 2, it'll have like a semi-transparent pop-in of stage 2B that you can go to.
Interesting. I do know though that you fought Carmilla. I fought a guy named Dullahan in that stage. He was a big knight with a lance whose head came off and made fire and ice stuff. It was weird.
Well, at the time I was playing as Maria, right?
Yes, you were playing as Maria for Carmilla. It's not that. You took a different path in the level than I did.
Okay.
I guarantee you that. And you can fight Carmilla as Richter. But speaking of Carmilla specifically, the reason I bring that up is she is specifically from Simon's Quest, which I did not know. That's where she first showed up in the series.
That's unfortunate.
So that's that. In fact, I believe she is the main antagonist of Simon's Quest. I'm not 100% on that. I've never played Simon's Quest, and I probably never will. It's not supposed to be very good.
Simon's Quest, as I understand it, is one of those games that tried to do way too many things for an NES game.
So it's Kid Icarus.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But speaking of the bosses in this game, there are 2 bad bosses. Being Dracula being the first one, because it's just the Castlevania 1 boss again.
It's not that he's bad, it's that he's boring. He wasn't
that roughly the same.
I didn't see him as being in any way objectionable in the game design standpoint, like we usually talk about in this way. My opinion is literally just I think he was too dull and I just wasn't having fun.
Because neither of us liked the Dracula fight in Castlevania 1 all that much. And this is just the same fight. They gave him one new attack, but other than that, it's the same fight.
Yeah, the other bad fight in the game is, in my opinion, the Mummy, because I think that that one is actually like too frustrating. The health pickup for that boss rush should have come before the Mummy instead of after. And additionally, his one attack where he like throws all the different pieces of his bandages, that is too unpredictable, and I never figured out how the pattern worked to it.
So I was going to say the Wyvern, not because it's bad, but like it feels like a Castlevania 1 boss. It's boring. It doesn't really do much.
I don't even remember the Wyvern.
Exactly.
I'm going to level you.
But past that, like the Werewolf is a cool fight, though he's a little bit unpredictable. The Werewolf is a really cool fight. The Minotaur is a fun fight. Dullahan, when I fought him, was fun. I really, really like the gimmick behind Carmilla, where her attendant, if she catches you, makes out with you and steals your hearts.
Yes.
That was a really cool gimmick, I think. What else even is there? I keep forgetting the Minotaur exists, but I don't think that boss is bad. I think I just forget.
To some extent, it just kind of happens.
Yeah. There is the cool boss rush that includes the Mummy, and I think I do agree with you that I'm not a big fan of how the Mummy is implemented, but otherwise, like...
I think I would have been totally okay with the fight if the health pickup was right before it.
I think I would agree with that. But it's the really cool boss fight. Stage 6 is entirely a boss fight, or a boss rush, I guess, with 4 bosses from the original Castlevania remade to be, other than the Mummy, to be good bosses.
I mean, even in the case of the Mummy to be a much better boss.
It's a better boss than it is in Castlevania 1, yeah. Like, you've got the Vampire Bat, who actually has attacks now instead of just, he's flying. Now he's flying at you. Fireball.
Yeah, he actually feels like a boss fight instead of like just a glorified enemy. Which later in Castlevania 1, he is just a glorified enemy.
I think the main reason that the bosses are much better, in my opinion, all of them, is that they telegraph. They have attacks that they telegraph. And it might not be like I'm not talking a giant wind up that lasts a full 10 seconds, and then if you don't dodge it, you're just dumb.
They've got patterns.
They have patterns you can learn. They're not all of the bosses in the original Castlevania just are random number generation for which way they're going to move, and that's it. That's the boss.
You may remember, like, during the boss rush part, like, part of the reason I was getting so frustrated is because of how acutely aware I was of the fact that it was all my fault that I was taking damage before I got to Mummy. Like, theoretically, I should never have taken a single hit of damage before Mummy, because I knew the wind-up for every single one of those attacks and what to do. I was just too stupid to actually avoid them.
And the main thing, that's the best place to see the perfect example of that is the Castlevania 1 Redux bosses, where, like, they've been given attacks. This is very similar. I really do think that Castlevania is the precursor to Dark Souls. A lot of it. It's one of them. Even thematically, yeah. And I think this is a really good example is because those bosses kind of feel like Dark Souls bosses in that they have tells that will show you what attack they're going to do, and it's up to you whether your brain, like, figures that out or not and can react in time. Like, you had problems with it because of a lack of patience. I just have a lack of reaction time and a lack of patience.
Yeah. That's like a huge thing in, like, why I didn't get, like, so frustrated that I felt like I was wasting my time with the boss rush. Because on the whole, the bosses were very good, very well designed. It makes a huge difference.
I do definitely agree with that. And that was one of the things I was most interested in your opinion on when you finally got around to playing it was, like, because you were the one that went on the big, like, the bosses suck in Castlevania 1. They're bad. They're not fun. I also feel that way, but you had a bit more of a stronger reaction to it because you liked the original game more than I did. And I was very interested in how you were going to feel about the bosses in this game because I genuinely do think they improved them a great deal.
Yeah.
So
it's a better game across the board. I haven't played many other Castlevania games. I've only played Castlevania 1, Rondo, and, like, one stage of Super Castlevania 4, and about a half hour of Symphony. But Rondo is incredible. Like, straight up, I love Rondo of Blood. And it makes me feel all the more validated that in Ultimate I've been playing more as Richter than as Simon, because it's just representative of I love this game. Rondo's really good.
I would agree with that. You know what else is really good in Rondo, just in general?
What's that?
The music.
So it's kind of interesting you say that in a way, because I don't feel like as much of it was as memorable as Castlevania 1 to some extent. I can only really pull out Divine Bloodlines off the top of my head.
You have described Divine Bloodlines as the best Stage 1 music.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd fully agree with that, but Divine Bloodlines is definitely, like, a really, really good song, and I'm glad it's in Smash.
Yes, a new remix in Smash at that.
But you know what else has a new remix in Smash that I was afraid we might not have an excuse to talk about on this show at any point? Bloody Tears, baby! It's in this game!
I think that it's in one of the alternate stages, so I don't think I ended up actually hearing it in game.
No, you did.
Did I?
You did. It's in stage 3, I believe, if not stage 4. One of the regular stages is Bloody Tears.
I don't know. This soundtrack playlist that we're using says 3B.
I heard Bloody Tears when I played, and I didn't play any of the alternates as far as I'm aware. Maybe I'm wrong. I could actually for real be wrong. But as far as I'm aware, I didn't. Point is, Bloody Tears is in this game, and I love this song, and it's super good. I think, though, unfortunately, I like the 8-bit version a little bit better. But this version is definitely super cool.
That what was it originally in?
It is it's from Simon's Quest.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's one of the only good things to come out of Simon's Quest.
Bloody Tears is a great song, though. Another song that I think I really like is the Stage 7 theme, Den.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. That's a really, really, really good song.
I think this is basically Rondo's equivalent of Out of Time, I think.
It definitely shares a lot of the same sort of aspects with Out of Time, and there's also little bits and pieces from Vampire Killer in there too.
Yeah. It's a cool song. I love it for many of the same reasons that I love Out of Time, where it really feels like things are ramping up, getting ready for the end game. I wish that Den was in Smash, but we got Out of Time, so I can't complain too much.
Mm-hmm. I personally, neither of us played the level that it's from, unfortunately. I did look it up and saw it, and it was kind of cool. I like the song Cemetery. It's a more subdued song than you'd usually get from Castlevania, and it sounds a little bit more like horror theme-ish.
Yeah, it's got an atmosphere to it,
and I really like that song a lot. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the boss theme, Dancing in Phantasmic Hell. Because while it is not, I don't think it is the most memorable boss fight theme we've had so far. I think that still goes to Sonic 2 for sure, or Mario World also has a really good one. I think this is up there still, and it's definitely an improvement from the original Castlevania boss song. I'll give it that.
There's a little bit, like right near the beginning of it, on this YouTube track that we have. It's about 10 seconds in. This little riff makes me think of the Song of Storms every time I hear it.
I could hear that, I guess. But I think it's a very effective boss theme, and it feels kind of cinematic in a way, almost. And like I said, it's a step up from the last Castlevania game we played's boss theme, for sure.
Yes, which ended up being in this game anyway.
I did want to bring up that I think one issue with that boss rush is that it is a 4-boss long rush, and they use the original Castlevania music, and that's cool, except it's still only 15 seconds long, looping over however long it takes you to beat all 4 bosses, and that's a bit annoying.
Yeah, it ain't great. But there are worse things I could do. I want to give a little bit of a small shout out to the save screen theme, Requiem. Because I just think it's kind of cool, like having Kyrie eleison represented in the video game soundtrack. That's just me.
Anyways, we haven't talked about the real best song in the entire game, which is, without a doubt, 100% Merry Samba.
Is that Maria's credits theme?
It is Maria's credits theme. Oh, Maria's ending is so good, though. I think that is genuinely my favorite thing in the entire game. Like, this is a cool game, and my favorite thing is Dracula giving this impassioned speech to a 12-year-old girl, and her just responding with, "I don't understand what that means," and him just. He sits there for 10 full seconds of silence. It was
something,
good.
All right.
It was so good. It made me so happy.
It was an experience, to be certain.
I think Maria's credits song is a lot better than Richter's credits theme, which I believe what is it even called? It's called March of the Holy Men.
Yeah, March of the Holy Men's not terribly memorable.
It's all right, I guess. It's nothing amazing, but Mary Samba doesn't belong in this game. Maria, in a lot of ways, doesn't belong in this game. From a gameplay perspective, from a setting perspective.
From any perspective.
From any perspective. And I love that she's not even like an Easter egg. She's an unlockable playable character you can easily unlock in your first run.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did easily unlock her.
I love it. I love it so much.
I also want to talk for a hot minute about how in the prologue, and in all the cutscene art, Richter looks uncomfortably similar to Shinji from Evangelion.
Little bit,
and
yeah.
The prologue cutscene the intro cutscene feels a little too much like the Evangelion OP, just in terms of visual direction.
You know what that intro cutscene also feels like?
What?
The 90s.
It's like Evangelion.
Yeah, but I saw that cutscene and it's the most 90s thing I've seen in a long time. And 1993. That makes sense. But wow. Oh, it's so good. A Divine Bloodlines in the background, and just what a game to be our first game with cutscenes, man.
Mm-hmm.
What a good, interesting game where Dracula looks like he belongs in a K-pop boy group, because old man Dracula hadn't become the canon design yet.
I still like it. I think it was great.
Oh, I like his design. It weirds me out that he looks so young.
It's great.
Compared to the Dracula we know now, it's bizarre. And it's even more bizarre when you go back to Castlevania 1 and he's just straight up Bram Stoker's Dracula with the same haircut. And, or I guess not specifically Bram Stoker, but is it Bela Lugosi? He played Dracula in the original film, right?
I think so. I'm not 100% certain.
I believe it's I believe it's specifically supposed to be Bela Lugosi's Count Dracula, which is even funnier and even weirder. But yeah, this is a good game. This is a fun game.
I love it. Rondo of Blood was really, really good.
And I'm very earlier I was saying I don't know if I'd go back to replay it, but then I stopped myself, and I think I would go back and replay Rondo actually.
Yeah, I have gone back and played more of it.
This is a good game. It turned me around on classic style Castlevania. I don't think I'll play any of the ones before this. Well, maybe I'll play Super Castlevania 4. That one's supposed to be really, really good. 2 is supposed to be not very good. 3 is supposed to be one of the hardest games in the series, from what I understand. Just batshit hard. And then 4 is supposed to be... Castlevania fans, a lot of them consider it a little too easy, but it's supposed to be very good still. So, I might check out that one at the very least. Speaking of, real quick, I just want to bring up that I was super excited to find out that Carmilla was a boss in this game, not because I knew that she was from Simon's Quest, because I didn't. I knew that when I looked it up afterwards, but because she's in the Netflix series.
Really?
And she has one of my favorite moments in the entire show, which is near the end. And she's a really fun character. Just that whole thing is a really good show, and I hope they continue on with more seasons, because I would love to see them make it to the Rondo of Blood timeline, or part of the timeline. To see
that'd be incredible.
To see this game sort of adapted into a show. Because I think that would be super fun. I want to see Richter. I want to see all that stuff. And then they'd be able to do Symphony of the Night from there, too.
Does it take place... I know Alucard's in it. But Alucard's immortal. Does it take place in roughly the same era as Rondo?
No, this takes place pre-Simon. Trevor is So Castlevania 3, I believe, is the earliest canon Castlevania game.
Interesting.
And the show is based on Castlevania 3. There might be ones that take place before that.
And then Castlevania 4 is Simon again, right?
Yes.
So it's just like Metal Gear.
Kind of.
Metal Gear confirmed a ripoff of Castlevania.
Which is weird. But yeah, it's a really good show, and I just really hope that they get further on. I'd love to see Rondo of Blood adapted. I'd love to see Symphony of the Night adapted. But I mostly just want to see how they handle Maria. That sounds fun. I really want that. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that show. If there's one specific part of that show that I want to bring up. Not the part with Carmilla, and this won't spoil a damn thing. But at a certain part in the series, Dracula's told somebody's after you, they're on their way. One of them's a Belmont. And he's like, great. A Belmont again. Because we're still Belmonts before Trevor. I believe the game is just the first in the timeline.
Yeah, I think
for the
so.
Games. And when Trevor first meets Dracula, the first thing he does is he runs up and punches Dracula in the face. And it does nothing. And Dracula's immediate response is, you must be the Belmont. Because what other family is going to see Dracula and their immediate first reaction be to go fucking punch him in the face? None of them.
So the earliest Belmont in canon is Leon Belmont, who was about 400 years before Trevor.
Huh, damn. That's a long timeline. Belmonts have been busy for a while.
Yeah. So actually, the big reason that Leon Belmont is not known as like one of the big ones in the Castlevania series is because he never fought Dracula, because Dracula had not yet been born.
Oh, interesting.
He was just generally a vampire hunter.
That sounds about
and
right.
Trevor is the first Belmont to have defeated Dracula.
Ah, well, that would explain it then. The Belmonts are infamous, but not infamous for having beaten Dracula.
Mm-hmm. And then after Trevor was Christopher Belmont, followed by Soleil Belmont.
That's a name.
Then Simon. Then Eustace. Then Richter. And then Julius, who was the most recent Belmont, active in 1999.
Shit.
And in current Castlevania canon, he was the final one to finally defeat Dracula. Like, Dracula is permanently dead as of 1999.
What game was that?
That was Aria of Sorrow.
Huh. Interesting. I think that's one of the Game Boy ones. The GBA ones, I mean. Interesting. But yeah, Castlevania is a cool series, and I would like to play more of it. Probably not anything from before Rondo, honestly. Because I'm not going to go play Simon's Quest, and I'm definitely not going to go play Dracula's Curse, because I like having working physical things in my life that I don't snap over my knee in a fit of rage.
That sounds boring.
I mean, some might say that. But do you have anything else about Rondo of Blood you want to bring up?
Rondo's good. Play it.
It's a good game. You should definitely buy the Requiem thing. Even if you just bought it for Symphony of the Night, go check out Rondo. It's cool.
No, what you should do is go back in time and buy the Virtual Console version.
I don't know if I'd go that... Well, I keep forgetting it was on the Virtual Console because I keep forgetting the Virtual Console had TurboGrafx games. Like, that was a thing. That's weird, right?
The Virtual Console eventually became like an everything machine, I think.
Kind of. All right, well, if that's the case, it's time to move on to our next game, which is probably going to be a lot shorter than this, but who knows? I don't know, because I don't know anything about this game at all. Our next game, representing fighter number 30, Wario, released in 1993 for the Game Boy. This is our second last Game Boy game. Wario Land. Super Mario Land 3.
I don't know anything about this game either.
I have no idea. I don't know anything about this game. I've never seen it. I've never played it. I've never touched it. I don't know anything about it. So this will be fun.
Yeah, same. I don't,
I think I am sort of aware of the villain. I think she's the villain in this game. I don't even know that for sure. But Captain Syrup, I believe, is the villain of this game.
I do not know the first thing about this game. I actually literally know zero about it.
I only know Captain Syrup because people, every time a new Smash game comes out, that's the one. That's the person that they're like, when are they going to put Captain Syrup in the game? And they won't, because Nintendo has forgotten the Wario Land series exists. And there's nothing any of us can do about it. Unfortunately, sorry.
The cruel truth and reality of the world.
And some people might ask, actually, why we're not playing a WarioWare game. And the main reason, I think, you brought up the good point when we were discussing which game to play for Wario, that WarioWare games don't tend to have, like, a beginning and an end to them.
Yeah.
They're just a collection of They're party games. They're party games.
When possible, I think it's preferable that we play games with defined beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, so that's why, if we were going to play a WarioWare game, my vote was going to be for Smooth Moves, personally, because that's my favorite. And I think that game's a lot of fun. But I think going into... This is Wario's first foray into being a playable character, I believe. This game is technically Super Mario Land 3, which is weird. And Nintendo is... This just goes to show you, Nintendo's always been bad at naming things. This is not a new thing. The full title of this game is literally Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3.
Boy.
What
a title.
God, I love it.
I don't.
Wario was, of course, introduced as the main antagonist of Super Mario Land 2. That was his first appearance ever. And then he got his own game, I guess. I don't know. I've never played it. He has a Viking hat in this one, and I don't understand why. At least in this screenshot I'm looking at, he does.
I don't have anything to say. I've never played this game. I don't know anything about it.
You can buy it on 3DS for $3.99. That seems to be the only place it can be bought right now. It's not available on the Wii U or anything like that. So, if you're looking to buy it, that's where it is. And I'm also out of things to say. I don't know anything about Wario Land, so I guess we'll learn together.
Hooray.
With that, you can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter, both at Smashterpieces. You can follow us on YouTube at Smashterpieces as well, where the VODs go up. So if you want to see Matt's beginning to end run with almost no breaks, you took a short bathroom break and that's it, of Rondo of Blood, which I think was a lot of fun to watch. You should definitely check out that YouTube channel. Hopefully that'll be out by the time I get this episode out. Vegas is being a jerk.
Not a good program.
Not a good program at all. A bad program, some might say. Meanwhile, I have a new podcast that you can go check out too if you want to hear my voice more often. It's called Original Sound Chat. If you like the part of the show where we talk about the soundtracks of each of the games, well, this is a show entirely about that. And also taking a deeper dive specifically into the soundtracks. So, if you're interested in that, you should search Original Sound Chat or go to anondino.squarespace.com, which is also where you can find the blog for Smashterpieces, including a link to the full list of games that we are planning to play for this show. It's like your one-stop shop for all the information you need. Isn't that helpful? Anyways, you can follow Matt on Twitter at Grimace Dominus. You can follow me on Twitter at The Debaga. Our Twitch channels can be found in links at the website. But also it's Grimace the Menace and Detective Debaga. I've been streaming more lately, or trying to stream more than just Smashterpieces stuff lately. I was streaming just yesterday, at time of recording, Resident Evil 2 and also Monster Prom with Matt and a couple of our other friends. Matt, you haven't really had time to stream more than just Smashterpieces stuff lately, but you do when you have time.
I plan on streaming Resident Evil 2 as well. Not because I think I'll be very good at the game or have any interesting input on it, but because that game's spooky, and I don't think I can play it at all without someone there to protect me from the zombies in real life.
Yeah, I was specifically streaming. I specifically decided to stream because I was like, I'm talking to myself to try to dispel the fear anyways. I might as well stream it while I'm doing so.
Yeah,
so.
I have the unique challenge of having a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I'm quite spoiled on the nice 4K HDR, so I need to find some kind of solution for the fact that my capture card cannot do pass-through for 4K and HDR.
So that's where you can find us. That's where you can find our stuff. It's a lot of fun. We would appreciate your support. Please, if you're listening to this show and you're not subscribed somehow, please subscribe. Please review and rate the show. It does actually help. I swear it does. If you're on YouTube, comment, like, please. It does the thing.
Search engine optimization.
Please. With that, my name is Joe.
My name is Matt.
And we will see you next time when we talk about Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3.